All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us today over at Marnay. Hello, everyone. My name is Brittney at Marnay. I will be showing you guys how to complete the W-4 form. We have a lot of questions all the time about how do you complete the W-4 form, and it can be very tricky. The W-4 form did change in January of 2020. It's supposed to make it more accurate to your tax situation, so your liability for taxes is as close to zero as possible, so you're not getting a huge refund back or you don't owe a huge amount of money. So it is very important to update your W-4 form if you switch a new job or your significant other switches a new job or you have an additional job that you need to report income, because if not, you could have a very high surprise tax bill at the end of the year if it's not reported accurately on your W-4. So we're going to walk through the process in various scenarios. We're going to look at what does it look like for a single individual to fill out a W-4 form. We're going to look at what does it look like if you're married filing jointly for a W-4 form. What if I have dependents? What if I don't have dependents? What if I have two jobs? What options do I have to help me fill out this W-4 form? So feel free, drop some comments below. We'll be more than happy to respond. Feel free to reach out to our office. We'll be more than happy to help you through the process of filling out your W-4 form. So here we go. So the W-4 form can be found online, and I'm just going to share my screen with you guys. You can see what I'm talking about. So this is the W-4 form. It can be found online with a quick Google search. Just make sure you're pulling up the one that says under irs.gov, and then you can fill out that W-4 form, and or your employer may have this W-4 form available for you. To complete the W-4 form is very simple, straightforward information. You will put your information, first name in the top. So in this case, it will be Brittney. Kennedy is the last name. You enter your social here, and then you will enter your address. And we can start with a single or married filing separately. In this case, I would select single. I would complete, then I would go on to the next step 2. If you have multiple jobs or your spouse work, you would complete this section only if that's the situation, if you have more than one job or your spouse works. If you do not have a spouse and you only have one job and you're filing single or married filing separately, you can go ahead and skip to step 2 and go straight into step 3. In this case, in step 3 is where you have your dependents. It used to be if you put 0, then that would be more taxes or less taxes you, let me back this up. It will be the more taxes that you will have taken out. If you would actually put 3, 4 dependents, 5 dependents, the more dependents that you would put, the less taxes you were taking out. So this is no longer the case. They actually do it by, you'll multiply the number of dependents you have by $2,000, since that is the amount for the child tax credit. And this is, so if your total income will be $200,000 or less, in this case, we're talking about a single individual, you will multiply the number of qualifying children under the age of 17 by $2,000. So in this case, if you had 2 children that were under the age of 17, you would put $4,000 for $2,000 for each child. If you have any other dependents, such as another child who's over the age of 17, who may be a college student who's under the age of 24, you're still able to claim them as a dependent. You may have Uncle John who stays on your couch and you take care of him. He doesn't make enough income to, he's under the threshold for requirements to be eligible for a dependent, or you have a parent or anyone you're taking care of and they are an eligible dependent, and you can get the additional $500 credit, you would enter them here. Does this say, once again, you're a single individual or you're married filing separately, you only have one job, you have 2 children, so we have 4,000 here, and you have your parents and Uncle John who serves on your couch is living with you. So you also have 2 other dependents. So now your total will be 1,000 here. And in box 3 in this step, you are going to add these 2 numbers here together. And so that would be $5,000. And this is an optional additional step, as you see here. If you have other income not from jobs from that you want taxes withheld, or so for instance, if you had taken out any retirement, if you have any debt that was canceled, or anywhere else you think where taxes should have been withheld, gambling debt, etc., and it was not, and you want to withheld from your check, you can do that here in this optional section, step 4. So this may include interest, dividends, and retirement income. If you don't have any, you can skip it. Deductions, if you expect to claim deductions other than the standard deductions, and you want to reduce your withholdings, you can use the deduction worksheet on page 3 and enter the results here. And we will be going over page 3 in a later discussion, in which this would be page 3. We will be going over this in a later discussion, so just stay tuned on how to complete those steps. And if you do not, you can go ahead and skip that. If you have some extra withholding, you're like, hey, for some reason, I just want to be more on the safer side. I hate to owe Uncle Sam at the end of the year. I want to be in the green no matter what. So I just want to pay an additional amount per pay period. So that way I have that extra amount of cushion that's taken out of my W-4, and I'm making sure I do not owe at the end of the year. If that's the case, however much withholdings you would like to have taken out of your check, you could do so under the extra withholding section here. And please remember that this is per pay period. So if you're like, oh, I want an extra $400 taken out for the total year, do not enter 400 here, because it will take out $400 per pay period. You would then have to take your look at your per pay period at the total amount that you want taken out. So if that amount is $400 for the year and you get paid bi-weekly every 2 weeks, that's 26 pay periods in a year. So that means you need to have this taken out about $15 to $16 per pay check. So if we do $16 here, you're going to sign and you're going to date this form, and then you're going to provide it to your HR department, whoever would be in charge of your W-4 forms. You would submit this document to them. You are done with at this point. So once again, that is if you are a single individual or married filing jointly and you only have one job. This is how you would complete this form. Now, things do get a little bit trickier once you do have more than one job. In the same scenario, let's just say if I am married filing separately, or if I'm single and I have more than one job, this form is going to look a little bit different. I would complete step 2 if I have multiple jobs or if I have a spouse that works. In this case, since I am single and I have multiple jobs, I'm going to complete this step if you hold more than one job, and if you're married filing jointly and your spouse works. The correct amount of withholding depends on the income earned from all of these jobs. And that's why there's a huge, people are a little bit confused about the W-4, because all jobs, meaning any other job that you have and or your spouse's income, because you guys file the same tax return, have to be taken in consideration. So you have 3 options you can do if you hold more than one job and or you have a spouse that works. The first option is you can use the estimator at irs.gov/W4 app. I'm going to pull it up for you guys. So this is a tax withholding estimator. It is used to estimate your federal holding with tax, see how your refund, take home pay. So it's meant to give you a more accurate look at how much taxes you should have withholding. So it's very similar to if you file your taxes online by yourself, it'll walk you through the process. It can be a little extensive, especially if you have multiple income being taken in consideration. If you itemize your taxes, if you have self-employed, it will make it a lot more complicated. But if you're just a straight W-4 or W-2 employee, maybe one W-2 or maybe a second job, it could be a little easier for you to use this tool. So if you want to use the tax withholding estimator, you're going to click on this button here. You're just going to start filling out the information. I'm single. Do you have a job that regularly withholds federal taxes from your check? That is yes. You will select any of these options. In this case, I do plan on claiming dependents on my tax return. And then how many jobs will you have this year? So I'm going to have multiple jobs, so I'm going to put 2. And I have a salary job, and it's all year. And I get paid every 2 weeks using my most recent pay stub. So if I got paid last Friday, and then my second source of income, I'm going to add that this is an hourly job. But I'm going to have it for a portion of the year. So then if I'm going to start, sorry, if I actually work this job on February 1st to, so this is expected from February 1st to, right, this is a current job, I'm sorry. And do you have any other sources of income? So if you had any unemployment or anything like that, you can select it. So we got enter our wages, and this is per pay period. So if I get paid $1,000 per pay period, and my year, my wages or salary year to date. So if I have made $10,000 year to date, I will enter that. And it's going to ask you, this is an income of about $28,000. Is that correct? I'm just going to verify, and the amount of federal taxes I've paid per pay period, and my year to date. If you contribute to your 401k, you're going to select that. So as I was saying, you're just going to go through this process. It gets very, very, very involved. So it will give you the most accurate allowance for your taxes to come out of your paycheck. So it is a very good and useful tool to go through, but most people do not like to file their taxes. And this feels a lot like filing your taxes, because they're going to be asking you a lot of different questions, and you may not have that information in front of you, or you have to search for it, but it will be good for you to go through this practice if you're able to. I do suggest that for taxes, or for individuals who are a little less complicated. For those that are a little bit more complicated, have multiple sources of income, rental properties, farms, businesses, contractors, I just would not recommend you going that route, because it's very, very, very involved to go that route. It will give you an accurate picture of how much taxes get taken out, but there's a little simpler way in the other options. The simpler way is to use the multiple jobs option worksheet, which is on page 3, and then you enter the results in 4C, which is your extra withholdings here. Below for rough, accurate withholdings. So A will give you a better, accurate withholding rate. B will give you a good, accurate withholding rate, but it's going to be a little bit rougher or not as accurate as A. So if you do B option with the multiple jobs worksheet, we're going to go to page 3, which is here. And it's going to say, if you choose the option 2B, which is what the option we're looking at, if your job is more than, if more than one job has annual wages of more than 120,000, or there are more than 3 jobs, you can see additional publication, or you can use the online estimator, which is the page here that we were going through. And we will be posting the links below that you can use for your W-4 as well as for the estimator app. So now we're on step 2B, and we're just going through the multiple job worksheet that's within the W-4. So if you have 2 jobs, or you're married filing jointly and your spouse each have 1 job, find the appropriate table on page 4 and use the higher paying job row and the lower paying job row. So in this case, there is 2 jobs. I am a single individual and I have 2 jobs. So I'm going to go down to page 4 and I'm going to look at the table. Married filing jointly, that is not me, or qualifying widower. I'm going to skip this section and I'm going to go to single or married filing separately. That's also not me. I'm going to skip that. I'm going to be head of household because I have dependents. Remember my 2 dependents, and remember my parents and my Uncle John who surfs my couch. They make me head of household. Just because you live by yourself or you run your household does not make you head of household, as many people would like to think. A dependent is what makes you head of household. In order to be head of household, you have to have something to be ahead of. So if it's just you, you're not head of household. So I'm going to look here in my head of household section. I'm going to look at my higher paying job. So my higher paying job pays me, we're looking at, let's just say $20,000 to $29,000 a year. And then I have a part-time job that pays me $10,000 to $19,000 a year. So in this section, I'm looking at my higher, my lower is here. My number I need is 2,110, 2110. So I'm going to go and I'm going to enter that amount here into, in line 1, not 2A. 2A is if you have 3 jobs or more. This is not our scenario, so we are going to go 3 jobs or more. We only have 2 jobs, so it's going to be entered into line 1 on page 3. 3 jobs I'm going to skip because that is not our scenario. And line 3, you're going to enter the number of pay periods per year for the highest paying job. So once again, that's for the highest paying job. I have 2 jobs. My highest paying job pays me biweekly or every other week, which I'm going to enter 26. But my lower paying job pays me every week. I'm going to enter my higher paying job, which was biweekly or every 2 weeks. So that's going to be 26. And then you're going to divide the annual amount in line 1 or 2C. We did not fill out 2C because we don't have 3 jobs. So you're going to fill out the annual amount in line 1 by the number of pay periods in line 3. Enter this amount here and in step 4C, which is on the first page that we went to. So we're going to find our amount that we need. So we got 2,110 divided by 26. That means we got $18.15. And so we're going to take that amount and we're going to enter it into, we're going to take this out because that's the amount in the previous scenario of $18.15. Now, if you have a deduction and you choose to itemize your deduction, there is an option to add your itemized deduction as opposed to taking the standard deduction. So you enter an estimate of your 2022 itemized deductions. So these deductions will include your mortgage interest, your real estate taxes, charitable contributions, state and local taxes, and medical expenses. So that includes your premiums, your out-of-pocket expenses, your mileage, your goodwill donations, tithing. All of those things will be a part of your itemized deduction list. If you would like, you can use if you did itemize the amount that you itemized for the prior year, because it's going to be about the same. Considering that your medical expenses as well as your charitable contributions remain about the same. So if you have, you will enter the amount there. 2, you would enter, in this case, if you're married filing jointly or qualified widower, you would enter $25,900. If you are head of household, you would enter $19,400. If you're a single married filing separately, you would enter $12,950. In this case, I am head of household. So I'm going to be entering $19,400. And if I estimate that my itemized deductions are going to be about $12,000, I will enter that in 1. Sorry, I did not enter that. I will enter that there. If line 1 is greater than line 2, subtract line 2 from 1 and enter the results here. If line 2 is greater than line 1, I'm going to enter 0. In this case, that is true, so I'm going to enter 0. So that means it will be more beneficial for me to take the standard deduction than my itemized deduction. You're going to enter the estimate of your student loan interest, deductible IRA contributions, and certain other adjustments. You can look at publication 505 for additional information. But if I pay on my student loans, I paid $300 and $200 in student loan interest, I can enter that amount there. So I'm going to add lines 3 and 4, and then I'm going to enter the results here, in which 3 and 4, my total is 200. And then if that's the case, once you have that, you can enter the results here and on step 4B of Form W4. And this is 4B for the deductions. And this is just saying these are the additional deductions in addition to what the government allows me for my standard deduction. So there's going to be an additional $200 in deduction. So that's not taken in consideration for the standard deduction that the government allows of $19,400 for someone that is head of household. So now my W-4 form is complete. In this scenario, I am a single individual that is, I'm saying single individual, but this is actually head of household since I do have dependents. I am head of household. I have multiple jobs. I have 2 jobs. I have 2 dependents under 17. I have 2 dependents that are over 17 that I'm claiming that are eligible dependents. So I have a total of $5,000 in dependent deductions, I'm going to call it. And then I have $200 in additional deductions that I'm expecting for student loan interest that I'm paying. And I need to pay an additional $18.15 in extra withholding due to the fact that I do have 2 jobs and I've taken consideration my higher paying and my lower paying job. Once again, I will sign here. I would date it and submit it to my HR department. Okay, now let's take in consideration if you are married filing jointly. This is going to look very similar to if you are single and you have 2 jobs, it's going to be very, very similar. In this case, I have my information here. I'm selecting married filing jointly. I'm going to have multiple jobs or my spouse works. So I have a spouse this time. I got married. My spouse also works. We are both contributing income to the household. So I do have the option, once again, to go to the IRS W-4 tool estimator kit. I'm sorry that took it away here for me, but I can fill out my W-4 tool estimator kit, or I can use the multiple jobs worksheet. And if there are only 2 jobs, you may check this box, and you have to do the same for both jobs filling out that W-4 form. This option is only accurate if the pay is similar. If not, more tax may need to be withheld. So you and your spouse both work, both you and your spouse make about $50,000 in each. This will be, you can check this box and you can skip having to do the W-4 app and or the multiple job worksheet. You can go on to the next section and go on to step 3. In this case, we're going to look at the multiple jobs worksheet again, being married filing jointly. We're going to go down to page 3. So if you have 2 jobs, once again, we're going to go right into we're a spouse, we both work, we have 2 jobs. In this case, I'm now in this section of married filing jointly or qualified widower. And we're going to look at the higher paying job first and then go into the lower paying job. So in the higher paying job, my spouse makes $80,000. So I'm going to be in this section here. And I make $60,000, which is this section here. So I'm going to take my 80, go until I find my 60 column, and my amount that I need is 9,120. So I'm going to enter this here on line 1, page 3, 9,120. We do not have 3 jobs. I'm going to skip this section. We're going to go into the highest paying job, or how often or how frequent are the pay periods. In this case, for my spouse who makes the $80,000 a year, they do get paid once a month. So if that's the case, my pay period is 12 times a year for once a month. And then I'm going to divide this 9,120 by 12. And that is 760. So I'm going to take this 760, I'm going to put it in step 4C. Sure I got the right amount. Yes. I do have to go back up here and correct these amounts if my scenarios did say the same, but unfortunately they did just delete. So I'll go in, and I had 2 children who were under the age of 17. And I'm going to divide that 2 by 2,000. So I have $4,000 and qualifying children, deductions for qualifying children. And then I have 2 dependents, my parent and my great Uncle Joe, who loves to surf my couch. I get $500 for each of them. So that's going to be $1,000. So correct this, $1,000. And so my total is now $5,000. Any other income from any other jobs? This is not our scenario in this case. If it was, we would enter that additional income here. If we had any other deductions, remember that section came from B, that came on page 3. This bottom section here, just determining if our itemized deductions, or if we have any student loans, IRA contributions, or any other deductions that could be part of Schedule 1, Part 2, we would enter that here and move that into our additional deductions that may be applicable to us. In this case, we do not have any, so we are done. In that scenario, we are married filing jointly. My spouse has the higher amount of income, making $80,000 a year. I have the lower amount of income, making about $60,000 a year. I found my amount of taxes that I needed here, 9,120. I brought that amount to, I'm going to say, section 1 or line 1. 9,120. My spouse, who is a higher paying earner, gets paid once a month or 12 times a month. I've taken 9,120. I've divided by 12. That gave me 760. I've entered my amount here. And step 4, line C, for extra withholding. I've now signed, dated, and submitted this over to my HR department. And then I'm done. That is it. That gives me a rough, accurate estimate of my withholdings. It can be a little tricky. Just make sure you're following your steps and making sure you enter each one of your steps. After you're done with it, just go back and review the form. Make sure you have entered in all of your steps. So we have gone over someone who is single. If you're single with no dependents, then you would enter single. You would not have any dependents here. No dependents here. This would actually be 0. And in this case, since you do not have multiple jobs, you do not have a spouse that works, there's nothing else you would need to fill out. You would sign and date. If you just so happen to own your home, have a lot of charitable contributions, and pay a lot in medical costs, and you choose to have itemized your deductions, and that may very well be an option for you, just be sure to complete step 4. If you expect to have $20,000 in itemized deduction and you're single, the government allows you $12,950 in standard deductions. So in this case, you have more itemized deductions than you have standard deductions. So we're going to take that 20,000 and we're going to deduct that 12,950. That means you have 7,050 more than what the government allows you. If you have contribute or paying on your student loans, anything like that, you will enter that amount. Let's just say we're paying another $200. We're going to add lines 3 and 4, which is going to give us $7,250. And we're going to take that and we're going to enter it into step 4B. And then now that that's been updated, you would sign date. So we just looked at a single individual with no dependents, but does have is itemizing their deductions. So they're getting more, they have more deductions than the standard deduction that the government allows. So you've entered that additional amount here of deductions that are allowable. You've signed, you dated. So we looked at a lot of different scenarios, guys. Hopefully this does help you. Feel free, give us a like that you like these videos, or if they are helpful, or if you have any additional questions, feel free to ask those questions. We'll be more than happy to answer those questions and to take them in consideration and making sure this actually helps you guys. So feel free. Like I said, reach out. Let us know what helps. Let us know any other types of issues that you guys are running into and how we can help you. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.